My guest today on the Neil Wilkins podcast is Gabriel Kaam. Now, Gabriel is the CEO and co-founder of the KNR Agency in Paris. Since 2016, he's worked with some of the world's biggest fashion, beauty and luxury brands, particularly in the area of e-commerce, and that is one area that we're going to go deep into today. Notable clients for Gabriel are people like L'Oreal and Givenchy. This really will give Gabriel a deep insight into many, many things that I guess we can all learn from luxury brand marketing. So welcome to the podcast, Gabriel.
Thanks for having me, Neil.
Yeah, this is a great topic. And I think for many marketers and business owners, really important to kind of understand, I guess, what is going on both in e-commerce, but also in the world of luxury branding, because we're seeing so much of this coming through in our social media feeds and, through sort of more traditional channels. There's a lot happening, isn't there?
Yeah, I mean, e-commerce has been like a fast-paced environment, over like this past 10 to 20 years, and it's still, continue to be like that, especially with the new technology and advancement and after like cultural change that's happening, during that time. I mean, of course, COVID was a big, a big factor of change in the e-commerce world, and now with the AI and stuff like that. So it's really like a dynamic. E-commerce, yes, in that. And then, of course, the luxury market, always has to reinvent itself in a way. So I feel like we're just stepping into a new phase of what maybe is going to shape the next following years.
I'm just really interested in your perspective on this. I was hosting a small short podcast workshop last week, and we were talking about actually coincidentally luxury branding and what we can all learn from it. So very similar kind of topic to this conversation. And one of the things that came through in the workshop very clearly was that personalization is absolutely key. Now, I wanted to kind of ask you the question, Gabriel, because obviously with the brands that you work with, I'm guessing there is a desire to get very close to their clients and to their customers. Is personalization something that is really significant that you're seeing?
Yeah, I mean, it's not only desirable. I think it's right now it's a requirement. Especially when you talk about luxury brands. By definition, luxury, it comes from the experience that the customer go through when they interact with the brand, and there's no better experience than a personalized one. Just like think about it. You go to a restaurant, a waiter like greet you by your name. That's that's just this simple fact, right? That's already like a big thing. So when it comes to e-commerce, when we don't have this physical approach, everything is digital, we have to find ways to make the relation more human, more personalized. So personalization has always been like a huge topic, when it comes to e-commerce, especially for luxury brands. And now that luxury brands are a little bit more mature when it comes to digital marketing and e-commerce, they realize that there are a lot of tools that allow them to do like a lot of great things through different channels and the way they interact with their customer base. And they see the result from it as well, so they think that more personalization allows them to talk to the customer the way that they want it to be talk to, and that usually yields like a positive results. It could become more sales, more brand engagements, more retention. So I do believe that brands are really looking into like more ways to make this relation more personalized. But for me, the goal is to make it more human, feeling like you're actually talking with somebody who knows you, can understand your your likes and don't likes, and can cater the experience to your expectation. I think this is, for me, that's the basis of luxury.
That's a really interesting angle, because I guess with a lot of us, business owners, marketers, entrepreneurs, startups, big businesses, multinationals, I mean, pretty much all of us in a commercial sense are kind of getting swept along by all these emerging technologies. Obviously, AI is a very hot topic in all of our circles and sectors right now. But it's interesting the way that you describe that human element and keeping the person in the mix here. How do we start? And again, thinking about your luxury brands that you're working with, how do we or they start to kind of plan that? Because if we're all getting very, caught up in AI and, obviously the e-commerce platforms, where does kind of the human piece come into play? Because it feels very distant to the technology.
Yeah. Oh my God. This is like because there's so many ways that I could answer this question, but I feel like they could take like an hour or something. So I think for me, it goes in two ways. Using all these tools to try to make the interaction. So when I say more human, I think what I mean is to try to recreate a one-to-one conversation. And I'm trying to give you like a concrete example. Last time I was consulting with a client, and they were sending emails, newsletters, and the way some brands write their copy sometimes, it kind of feels like an ad. It kind of feels like something that is, you're not really like talking to your customer. It's kind of like, this is a message. And I feel like you get more engagement if when you open an email and you feel like this message was directed towards you. So for me, personalization also comes from the way you just word your message. That could be like a simple email, or that could be something as simple as just using somebody's first name in the email. Hey Neil, did you check our last product coming up? Last week. It feels more personal. And then with AI and all these new tools, you can even go further. You can even instead of showing everybody on your database the same four products, you can actually maybe show them product that they're gonna like. So maybe they really like golf and you're selling watch. Maybe you have a watch that's golf inspired, something like this. So you can basically use all of that through. So as I said, copy the way you address them, and also to what sort of information and recommendation you push towards them to make them feel like they've been chosen specifically for them, and they are not just the four product that you want to push to everyone in your database this week. So I think that's what I mean when I mean to say like human. It's, I don't know if maybe like considerate is the right word, but people want to feel like what they're getting, the message, recommendation, product has been designed and catered specifically for them. Um, and of course, it's hard to do because they do realize that this email was not just sent to them; it was sent to like a lot of people. But you can try to mimicate, I guess. I don't know if that's a weird word, mimicate. Try to replicate, I guess, this this human touch, the feel of uniqueness in the message that they're receiving.
Now, this is to me really exciting, and I can imagine, if I was, one of these brand owners, I would be thinking, great. So when any individual gets a communication from us, email, through socials, or however else, it is going to be received almost with open arms, because it will be like almost a friend talking to a friend, or I don't know, a mentor talking to a mentee, or something like that. So it's really, yeah, that one-to-one connection is really important. But I'm guessing for a lot of businesses, it is still a bit of a dream rather than a reality, because to be able to do that, and used your golf example there, you'd have to know that a particular customer was into golf. So the data capture that comes before being able to do that is crucial, isn't it? We're talking about a lot of data around each and every customer. So where do we start with that? If you've got a database that's just a name and an email address, you can't do this from the get-go, can you?
Yeah, I mean, as you said, yeah, data is king. A lot of our strategy is what I would call data driven. So we like to look at data first and then think in second. But to be able to do that, you need to get data first, right? So if you just have like an email list with just like first name, last name, and email address, it's really hard to get data from that. Um, but right now, especially in the e-commerce world, I feel like a lot of platforms are becoming better and better at capturing data and helping the businesses make sense of this data. We work with a lot of platforms like Salesforce, Commerce Cloud, and Shopify, and they all integrate and implement in a way some kind of data business intelligence suite, right? So you need to have someone in your team that can speak data, understand data, and be able to use all of these tools. Because data can be, as simple as just knowing that, oh, this customer last week saw maybe 3 of our product pages, and just this small amount of data can, help you maybe understand a little bit more what they were like searching on your website. Maybe they use the search bar on your website. Maybe you can also even link to their social media to see like, oh, they seems to be using like the hashtag, I don't know, London a lot. So maybe they like to traveling, So it's all about gathering all the data, then making sense of it, and then of course making decision based on this data. So a lot of the strategy that we've been pushing when we consult with our clients is to have like a data-driven approach. Try not to guess. Try to look at the data. Try to always be in contact with the audience, and and then maybe try to make decision based on the data. And then of course, sometimes you make mistake, but it's okay. I feel like data is it's a lot of trial and error when you go through that, unless you until you really get to the sweet spot when the data makes sense and it helps you actually understand your user.
So that's really interesting then, Gabriel. I guess the question for me then that comes out from that is, do we, or should we, or could we be driven by the data in terms of deciding what's important for the customer? Or do we have a strategic view and then support it with the data? Which comes first? Because an organization that says it's data driven, does that also need to have a strategy that says this is what we're trying to do for our customers when we talk about personalization? Let's see if we can find the data to support it. Or is it, let's go and have a look at all the data and see what emerges from it? Is there a better way round to do it?
Wow, I think it really depends. I mean, I have my personal ID. I don't think it's the perfect and absolute one. I think it depends. I think it makes sense for a business owner or like a marketing director to, of course, understand the strategy of the brand or the business they're working with, and then having that as their North Star, and then using the data to figure out, okay, we know where we want to go, like, but how? And then using data to figure out what is the best path to go to this direction. And I think that's probably the answer that's going to resonate with the majority of people, because I mean, like sometimes, you have something that you need to follow. You have some orders, mission, like a year plan that you need to follow. And I do believe that data can help you find the right path and action to take to, to achieve this goal that you're trying to achieve. But I do believe that it would be very interesting to have a company or a business that's entirely data driven. And I mean, in a sense, that it already exists. If you look at Amazon, for example, right? I don't think Amazon create product because Jeff Bezos suddenly likes, like glass or silverware. He just look at the data and he sees where the trend is going, and then he provides, the offer for the demand that exists. And we've seen the result with Amazon, like huge e-commerce success, right? Like never done before. So I do believe that this data-driven approach is a good way to go. Can it be implemented in all the level of the company? Maybe not. Maybe the C-suite, they have to have their North Star, of course. But I do believe that having this mentality, even on the day-to-day, have this data-driven approach makes sense. I think you're less likely to make mistakes. And oftentimes, actually, when I look at my clients and when I go on board, and when they say, "Oh, we tried that and that didn't work, or that didn't yield the result that we expected," usually it comes from a lack of either looking at the data, first of all, or maybe understanding the data and making an assumption. And we try to tell them to, like never make assumption, only look at the data and learn from it. there's so many cases when that was proven true that I tend to believe in that strategy, to my core.
Yeah, it's almost having a confidence in it, isn't it, really? I guess if it's being consistently and reliably collected from whatever sources, it could be AI, could be research, could be from a CRM, then if you're confident of the sources, then that data should be, powering very, very effective decision making. I wonder why we let ego get in the way, because, the Amazon example you just given there, it's just the perfect example, isn't it? Because there's no ego getting in the way. It's like, no, data pot A is better than data pot B, therefore we're going to serve data pot A. And there's almost no emotion going into it. It's very cool, it's very calculating. Is that the best way to do e-commerce, is to almost take your kind of own feelings out of it?
I would think so, and you raise an interesting point also about how much you trust your data, because data sometimes people don't trust data for the right reason. Sometimes if you don't have a good data collection system, then it's good not to trust your data, because your data may be wrong, or maybe you can misinterpret it. So it's not like data is always right. It's just like I think it's the better strategy. And to come back to your question, yes, I think I do believe that taking the ego out of the equation, I think it's a good strategy. And then the reason is, okay, but why is that? Well, I do believe that whatever decision I'm able to take, I'm not smarter than a computer who can analyze thousands and thousands of points. He of course gonna be smart. His brain is better than my brain, right? So I'm gonna trust him. He has his skill of decision making based on the data collected is better than mine. So I will choose to trust him. And I think some people don't want to do that for different reasons. I think it's a human thing to think that we have this gut feeling that we want to follow, and sometimes it makes sense. If you've been in a business for, I don't know, 20 years, and every decision you made was a gut feeling and it always yield positive results, based on the data, you'll be right to trust your guts another time. So in a way, sometimes it makes sense. But I think if you're trying to minimize the risks, it's always better to trust on the data. Because when I trust the data, I don't trust the data blindly in a way that, oh, that's gonna work. It's kind of like a bet, It's like if you're on a blackjack table, and if you just play, following the probabilities, you're not gonna win every time, but on the long term, you're gonna win. And you also know that if you follow your nerve and your gut, you're probably gonna lose more money if you play blackjack, for example. So for me, the way I think about it, it's all about probability and trying to minimize the risk and try to have a strategy that, first of all, can work on the long term, and also, as a business owner, something that can be implemented in all the strata of my company. Because if I told my team to trust their gut feelings, and then my 20 sales is like, oh yeah, I'm going to trust my gut feeling, I don't know what's going to happen with my sales team, right? But if I can teach them to follow the data, the tracks, and the system, I do believe that's how you're able to run a business on a large scale. So yeah, I think it just makes sense from a logical point of view.
Because I guess as somebody who doesn't really deal in luxury brand marketing, which I don't, it's not really an area that I'm into as you are, is I guess as an outsider looking in, it feels as a set of industries, be it, as you've said, watches, obviously there's fashion, you could say perfumery, and there's a whole host of different brand categories that we might look at here. But it's often, I guess, the perception of the outside or outside of the industry, that it is all based around emotion. It's all about feeling. It's all about creativity because of the beautiful branding, the huge budgets that go into creating those sort of emotional impacts from the brand. I guess we lose sight of the fact that there's numbers and there's data going on behind the scenes here. Are we all being kind of misguided here? Because it manifests as something that's super creative and very emotional, but it sounds like it actually isn't, and it's much more scientific.
Like that's one of the reasons I think that I love fashion and luxury so much, is because I think for me it's kind of like it's like this world where the creativity and the logic like kind of meets, because I mean, I guess you could say the same for the art, for the art industry as well, and the way I look at it is that feelings on a large scale could be seen as data, right? Trend. What is trend? Trend is just like a lot of people seems to really like this thing at this instant of the time. That's a data point that you can take into consideration when you do the calculation in your strategy. So I think, yes, looking from the outside, it could be a little bit strange to see all of this emotion making sense in a business world. But I don't think it's specific to the fashion world. I do believe that, when you look at the markets, or even at the financial market, the companies, like people trust companies based on feelings. And these feelings become data points then the market can then capitalize and use, to create a model and projection. So the entire business is made of human. Human make decision. Women decide to buy or to sell different items. So at the core, it always comes from the emotion, right? And if you can understand the emotion, and if you can try to make sense of the emotion in your business strategy, then it doesn't seem that weird at all. It just makes sense.
I just need to make a note of that. Is a really, really interesting phrase that you just used there. And I want to really highlight this, is that feelings become data points. That was a phrase that you used, which I think for many marketers listening to this and watching this, I think that's a real wake-up call. I think there's at the moment across many, many industries, there's data that sits over there, and then there's the kind of the sentiment and the emotion and the engagement that sits kind of over there, which is a completely different side. What you're saying, though, Gabriel, is that actually it's one of the same, that these kinds of, almost trigger points, if you could say, that our feelings are actually points of data that we need to be really, really taking seriously, because those are the moments when we can strike. We can actually hit with a really key message or a call to action, or a moment where somebody might actually be ready to buy. I think a lot of us are missing that point. Am I right when I describe it like this?
No, yeah, you're totally right, and I think for me maybe it makes more sense because I'm so into like a digital world, and I don't know how can I explain this. Like the path from feelings to action is shorter, right? Because the data point I'm looking at is maybe like the like on a post, or like a commenting, or like I see a trend. So it's like feeling, action, and if you look back at before the digital age, how do I say this? Like the time between the emotion trigger and the action can be longer, because like you see like a bag that you really want, well, you need to wait for the store to open, go to the store, and actually buy the bag. So it's probably like harder to track, like on the micro, I guess level. But because I learned marketing to the digital marketing age, for me that's kind of like how the way I see it, and that's also like the way that I analyze the market and the trends, and it just makes sense.
So now you've really got me thinking here, Gabriel. I'm loving this conversation because we're going to go to a topic that is really close to my heart as a marketer, and this is the concept of the customer journey. Because I think just from what you've said there, you've got me thinking about, rather than plotting customer journey, which is how I always describe it to clients and to people I'm working with, is kind of almost a set of channels, and it's the journey through all the various kind of click points if it's a digital journey. But actually what you've got me thinking about, and this is really interesting, is that it's more than that, because actually what it is, this is a series of data points which are actually feeling points. So rather than channels, they could be feeling points. So as you say, that bridge between I've seen a piece of content, or I've watched a video, or I've seen an image, and then I have a feeling, and then I act. And it might be I click the like, or it might be I click the call to action, then I move to the next point in the journey. If we were as marketers, I'm going to present this to you and see if you think this would work. If we as marketers were to plot our customer journeys based on feeling points rather than channels and those kind of step-by-step page clicks, as it were, because that's a kind of cold sort of scientific way of doing it. If we were to do it by feeling points, would that get the personalization and the engagement level right up? Because it feels like it would.
Yeah, I mean, I think you would. I mean, I do believe that having like a channel view is of course interesting, because you need to be able to have your message being seen through different formats to have like a better impact on a customer. But at the end of the day, the message that you're sending, which could be like an ad, a piece of content, organic, right? The goal is to create an emotional connection with the customer. You need to have them react to it. So I do believe that you can hit someone 10 times with a message that is not that impactful. And maybe you'd get a sale, but I think maybe if you just hit them like twice, 2 times with a really impactful message, I think they're going to remember it a little bit more. They're more likely to, to share. I mean, that's what we're seeing with social media right now. If you look at, TikTok and Instagram, they've realized that one of the best, I guess, signals to infer whether or not a piece of content is of quality is whether or not people are sharing it to their friends. The likes is not likes used to be like the grail, right? It's like, oh, I want more likes. Then it was, oh, I guess content actually is a bit better source of engagement. No, it's like saving and sharing to people. You only share a piece of content if you had a reaction to it and you actually feel that some of your friends will have a reaction to it. So that's like a signal, right? It's like a data point. So like, oh, this person like shared this piece of content. So yeah, I do believe that the emotional impact that your content can have on your potential customer is really, really important when you design your digital strategy, much more than which channel you're using and how are you dominating, all channels. Yeah, I do believe that. Of course, it's important, to have the view of the channel, but then it's like choosing the one that can have the bigger impact. And for example, like right now, it's video, right? Like, I think I was talking to an SEO expert the other day, and he was telling me about how he used to write a lot of blog posts on his blog for the agency, and then he would take one blog post, turn it into a video. So the blog post will generate leads, right? It will generate, let's say, like 10 leads a year. The video will generate like 10 times more. Because the video, you see the face, you hear the voice, it's the same piece of content, right? But because it's on video, the impact is like tenfold. So with just that, I was like, yeah, it just makes sense, and that's why people don't read as much. They watch more videos now because, psychologically for the human brain, it's a more enjoyable piece of content, and it creates like a strongest, I guess, connection to the creator or the brand who published it.
I mean, honestly, you're really making me think here. And the second sort of piece that kind of extends, I guess, on from that thing about bringing the whole concept of customer journey in, is this idea that with e-commerce, I mean, maybe it's just me thinking this, but I've always had the idea in a customer journey, if I'm plotting this out, so step by step by step, and I'm drawing it up on a big whiteboard, or big chart on in an office or something, in a meeting room with a client, then I'm always looking that maybe the e-commerce point, so the bit where they're going to be encouraged to do a sale, is the conversion point. So we're going from awareness to conversion, and then we might do something hopefully afterwards to retain the customer, maybe get them to come back. But I think, Gabriel, what you're kind of suggesting to me is that if I could be more smart with the customer journey and actually create it as this series of kind of emotion points, there's a chance that that e-commerce point could come a lot sooner. Rather than it being almost the end of that first phase of the journey, it could be literally after a few clicks, or even after a video. It could be that soon, because if I can be really focused on the emotion, if I get that emotion right and get the right response, customer's ready to buy. Now that changes everything, doesn't it? Is that possible, do you think?
I've been trying to find the formula to do that, and there is this man, I think his name is Darren Brown. I don't know if you know him. I think he's from the UK as well. He's a mentalist, a magician mentalist, and he made this video a couple of years ago that to this day fascinates me. And he was talking about, the feeling that you feel like, what, when it's around Christmas time, and you put like some gift on your Christmas list, for Santa Claus, and you want this gift, and you have this feeling, you dream about this gift, you want nothing but this gift. This feeling is so strong, right? Like you want this gift that you've been wanting, you've been seeing it on TV, you've seen it with your friends, you really want it. For me, this goal, I mean, if you have like a great product, and if you could find a way through marketing to create these feelings, in the heart of your customers, then you won, right? I mean, that's what Apple did. Like people used to line up in front of Apple Store, like sleep in their bag just to get an iPhone. That's because they had this feeling inside of them that I want this, I need this. And hopefully there's a great product that you need to sell them. But yeah, I do believe that if you can create this feeling of people like really wanting to have your product, then if you just give them the possibility to do so, and know it's even easier with e-commerce, you do like an ad, and oh, by the way, you want to buy it, click on this, get your credit card, and you get it shipped in your house tomorrow morning. Then yeah, like the path through from feelings to action will be shorter. I mean, of course, it doesn't apply to all products, especially like in luxury, like the price tag is so high that it creates, of course, friction. But we see this happening in other markets as well, like in fashion, cosmetic, when a product is really great and you're able to create this emotional engagement, people tend to commit to the act of purchasing really fast if you're creating this feeling inside of them.
So it sounds then as though there's an opportunity, and I want you to correct me if I haven't got this right, but it sounds as though there's an opportunity to do this on a low budget. Because I think a lot of us, if we think of luxury brands, we assume, may or may not be correct, that, they're multi-million-dollar budgets, and, they've got these huge teams and big resources. And what about me in my little business? I couldn't possibly ever do that. But I think everything that we've said so far is about truly listening to the customer, understanding their perspective, using AI to become, just a lot more closely connected with the data around that customer. And that's just time, isn't it? That's not a big budget.
Yeah.
Or am I wrong?
No, exactly. No, you're totally right. I mean, what I'm gonna say is true right now. I don't know if that was true like maybe 5 or 10 years ago, but I do believe that right now, especially with e-commerce, the barrier to entry is so low. Anybody could go online and open like a Shopify store that used to cost 1,500,000 to have like a team to do that. Now everybody with a phone can do that. I've had people managing the whole business, with their phone. So you can do that. Then you have a website. Okay, how do you reach the masses? You don't have the budget of L'Oreal to do like an ad during like primetime television. Well, no, you cannot do that, but you have a phone. You can create a piece of content on TikTok and Instagram. And if you create it right, it might become viral, or it might maybe end up being seen by, even like a few hundred or thousand of people that could potentially become your buyers. So I do believe that we are in an era that yes, the barrier to entry is lower. You don't need that much money to start and grow your businesses. I mean, of course, if you have big budget, it's easier. But I think that the only thing that gets easier with money is just that you are able to try and fail more time than if you didn't have the money, right? Because it's not like all these big brands, it's not like every campaign they run is profitable. Like there's a lot of misses. But it's kind of like investing, like you through like 10 startup, invest in 10s, 7's gonna fail, 3 is gonna make up for the rest of it, and hopefully you can sell at a good price. This company with their big market, the big budget, they're able to do that at a larger scale. But as a smaller brand, you don't need these budgets. You can do maybe even better with lower budget, actually. And I think that's something that's even truer right now with social media. If you look at the kind of content that really resonates the most with the audience, is authentic content. So something that is not hyper produced, something that doesn't look professional. Like I feel like maybe like just an ad film like from an iPhone camera will perform better than like two professional ads filmed by like a team of 10 people in the studio with the perfect lighting, especially if it's consumed on the TikTok or like on Instagram. So yeah, anybody can do that. And just to finish on this point, if you look at the social media of all of these brands, they are of course huge success, but they don't get a lot of engagement because some of them, they haven't understood that point yet. They haven't understood that what people are looking for when they come to social media is content that is relatable, that creates emotion. They're not looking for TV ads. And there's a few brands who understood that, like, Jacques Mus, I think it's a good example, like a French brand that I actually love. And the content they make is not at all like the content they used to see on Instagram for big brands, like 5 years ago. They understood that people want to relate, they want to laugh, they want to have fun on social media, they want to share with their friends. And if you can create this kind of content, people are going to get drawn to your brands, and at some point you're going to be able to show them your product, like, hey, you like what you're seeing, by the way, you can actually buy your stuff. And I think that's how you become create like a brand that actually people want to buy in this digital age.
That's such useful information, really is. And I guess that there's something which I'm sure a number of other people listening to this will have picked up on. There are two platforms that you've mentioned 2 or 3 times already, and I just want to test that these are the ones that if I was looking to do this myself and explore everything that you've shared with us, that these would be the two to really focus on, and that's TikTok and Instagram. Are those the two right here right now that are going to give me the best if I go for this?
Yeah, well, I guess it depends what you're selling. In my world of fashion, beauty, luxury, they are the one that makes sense. TikTok is debatable for luxury product. I think there's a niche there, but I think it really depends. The reason why I love these two platforms is because they are focused on videos. TikTok was the video platform by excellence. Instagram then followed soon after with the Reels that they introduced, and they've been pushing Reels ever since because they understood that videos, and especially short form videos, is right now the type of content that gets the most engagements. So if I was starting like a brand right now, like if I was starting like a fashion brand, yeah, I would capitalize heavily on TikTok and Instagram. If my audience is pretty youngish. It will depend. I think if I was selling maybe like to 35 plus, maybe I will think about Facebook, or maybe something like Pinterest for inspiration. But I feel like Pinterest is probably maybe like top of the funnel, maybe looking for inspiration, not ready to buy yet. But yeah, I do believe that Instagram and TikTok, TikTok right now, I don't know if it's still banned in the US at the moment, but yeah, they're a platform they're just such a great playground for e-commerce brand, especially in my world of fashion and beauty and luxury.
A final question for you, Gabriel, because I know you're a busy guy, got a lot of clients to serve. So one kind of last question, which is live shopping. I mean, there's a lot of talk in the media about how important live shopping is becoming. Do you see that playing out? I'm guessing for luxury brands, it's going to become important, obviously, with the influencers that are kind of in play within the industry. Is live shopping a thing now, or is that something for the future?
I think it depends on where you are in the world. I do believe that right now, for example, in France, we're not there yet. I've seen people do live shopping. I think it's working okay. But I know it's really, really big in Asia, for example. They have like a different way to consume content and product as we do like in the West. So I do believe I do know it's really, really huge there. I just don't know if anyone in the West has just cracked the code, how to make it like well and on a repeatable manner. But yeah, there's possibilities here. Like if someone is willing to try, I think it will make sense. It will be a great way to interact with the audience. It's a live video, so of course, if you can have a relatable person like an influencer or somebody who people feel close to, that would be even better. And for them to be seen on video, interact with the products, and being able to talk to them not about the benefits, but why this product is important to them specifically, I think it could have like a greater impact. Again, you don't want it to look like an ad. You really want to have someone who understand the product and could be using the product in their day-to-day life. So they could talk about the experience with the products. And I think, especially in luxury, this is why people are going to buy it. They're not going to buy this bag because it's like 5 to 10 centimeters wide and he has like a new. No, they're going to buy it because this girl knows that it's the perfect size for her phone when she's going out for a drink with her friends. That's the selling point. Like the dimension, they don't care. It's about, I'm going to use it in my day-to-day life. It makes sense. And these girls that I can relate to, this bag is actually the one that she uses on a day-to-day basis. So maybe it's good for me as well. So that's the way I will do live shopping if I were to do it. Yeah.
Great advice. And again, it comes around again, doesn't it? It's all about the emotion. It's not the dimensions of the bag, like you say. That's a lovely analogy. It's not the dimensions of the bag. It's how it makes you feel, and is it going to be part of your lifestyle? And I think whether we're working in luxury brands or in commodity markets or B2B or wherever we are, I think that's a really key learning point. So really grateful for your advice and guidance in this conversation, Gabriel. How do people contact you and connect with you? Because I'm sure people will want to follow up on this and find out more.
Yeah, well, you can find me on LinkedIn. Gabriel Kaam is a Kaam, and we also have the website for the agency, KNR.agency.
Wonderful. That's a great, nice, clear call to action there. So everybody, if you want to make connection with Gabriel, please do so. It's been a great conversation, really has. I mean, you've got me thinking, and I think next time I'm looking at customer journey, I'm going to be doing this in a slightly different way now. So
nice.
I've been doing this a long time, Gabriel. I really have. So that's that's a great learning for me. So I really, really appreciate your guidance on this one. I think everybody.
You're more than welcome. It was a pleasure. Yeah.
Wonderful. Have a great rest of your day.
Yeah, you too. Have a good one. Bye.